Right now, black women are paid only 63 cents for every dollar earned by a white man. And there's a double whammy of an issue here. Research shows that women overall have a more difficult experience negotiating pay than men. But with women of color, you're even more disadvantaged than their white counterparts in that space. And we need to talk about it. Today, Black Women's Equal Pay Day means it's really about highlighting disparities seen across the U.S., including certainly right here in Colorado. Joining me now, Simone, CEO of the Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce. We appreciate you being here. We know you just left the Capitol talking about this very issue. And when we're talking about pay, I mean, that's so much deeper than just bringing home a paycheck. That's how we as women take care of ourselves, our families, let alone being able to put money away and invest in the future. Talk about this as a systemic issue that's been plaguing our community for so long.
And I really want to appreciate you for introducing this as this is a systemic issue. Today is not a celebration. Today is really a day that is rooted in being a call to action for us to break down those institutional and systemic barriers that cause this significant pay disparity. Today marks the day that Black women are at parity to white men in 2021. So that means that we are working 9 additional months in the year to be brought to parity from last year. Additionally, Black women over the course of 40 years of work stand to lose $1 million in comparison to their white male counterparts. And that's a big number when you think about the amount of single parent households that are rearing children, even when you think about Black women's contribution to GDP. That's a really big number because we stimulate this economy, yet we have this significant pay disparity.
And I mean, hearing those statistics, it's so jarring, and it's something that, you know, it's not new. We've been dealing with for so long, and it certainly was exacerbated during the pandemic and what we've been dealing with now as a society. What advice to women of color, if they're in the negotiating space, if you're looking for work, how do you know your worth and demand that?
Well, we are fortunate that we are in Colorado, a state that has really pioneered pay equity and pay transparency. And so we've got, you know, transparency around what the pay is. I encourage any woman, Black, certainly, BIPOC, yes, but all women, to understand the pay ranges, to understand the logic behind those pay ranges and those levels to pay, and then really evaluate that commensurate to lived experience, because when we talk about DEI, we're wanting to move that dial to also consider lived experience, and in addition to education, to understand where they should be on that range. And then we've got to ask for it, and we've got to start talking about pay. We've got to start having those conversations about, well, what are you earning? Just to ensure that there is transparency around that conversation and that we become comfortable with it.
Yep, that can be intimidating, so being comfortable is the key there. And you said DEI, and it's almost like a buzzword now. Everybody DEI, but it's really important that companies are putting actual actionable items, right, when it comes to DEI. How can companies in the state of Colorado do their part, right?
You know, there's a lot. You know, I'm just actually coming from a phenomenal conference with Colorado Inclusive Economy. This is an economy of people and business leaders throughout the state that's signing up saying we are committed to ensuring that our employees and our team members and our company are measuring the success rates of equity in the workplace and finding new solutions. Another huge piece of it is really getting uncomfortable being uncomfortable. It's like that whole, if you see something, say something. If we know that we're not equitably paying women, Black women in the workplace, it's important that we raise that issue, that concern, and we really act as allies if we're in a position of power and influence to say, let's do a pay disparities study to get Black women and women, BIPOC women, at parity with their white counterparts, and to ensure that we have opportunities. And then certainly what we know, and this is a fact, and we could do a lot better with this, is at the point that we have better representation in the C-suite, at the point that we create sponsorship culture within our corporate ecosystems, and at the point that we're interrogating some of the systemic barriers to the success, both economic and from a professional's perspective within our businesses, we're then going to create equity. And once you've created equity, diversity and inclusion is going to completely follow that.
Yep. Just a start of a really important conversation. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're in the space of Colorado, making change, right?
Absolutely.
It's going to take us all, allies and the community included. Simone, thank you. Thank you for listening.